In a moment that stunned the Miami paddock, Max Verstappen and Red Bull have finally broken their silence over the shocking pit lane incident during the Miami Sprint Grand Prix, a crash with Kimi Antonelli that left fans gasping and the F1 world in disbelief. The reigning world champion, released into traffic by his own crew, collided with the young Mercedes rookie just as Antonelli was peeling into his pit box. The result: chaos in the lane, a broken front wing, a 10-second penalty, and the first time Verstappen has finished a race outside the points since 2016. But what really caused this? Was it just a slip of human error, or something deeper brewing inside Red Bull's previously bulletproof operation? Meanwhile, across the garage divide, Mercedes team principal Toto Wolf could barely contain his fury. Describing the release as a total lack of judgment, Wolf launched a verbal assault on Red Bull, accusing them of endangering not just the race, but lives. With Kimi Antonelli being forced to skip his tire stop and eventually finishing P10 behind the safety car, Mercedes lost out on vital sprint points. Points they may regret come the end of the season. Let's discuss, and stay tuned until the end. Be sure to subscribe, because this isn't just a recap, it's a deep dive into what went wrong, what it means, and where things might be headed next. Let's break this down. It began with a volatile sprint format already primed for drama. The Miami circuit, a challenging street layout with low grip and limited visibility in the pit lane, was soaked as the race began under wet conditions. Drivers went out on intermediates, but everyone in the paddock knew if the sun came out, there'd be a mad scramble for slicks. And that's exactly what happened. By lap 15 of 19, the dry line was forming, and tire temperature data was indicating a crossover point. The race had reached a critical tipping moment, where one well-timed pit stop could make or break your finish. What unfolded next, though, was chaos. Max Verstappen, running P3, dived into the pits. Just behind him, Kimi Antonelli, the rising star of Mercedes, still adapting to the sharp end of Formula One, followed closely. These were no casual stops. The pit lane was a war zone of noise, speed, and pressure. Red Bull had just seconds to prepare for Verstappen's arrival, change tires, and get him out ahead of Antonelli to protect track position. But in that pressure cooker moment, one of the most basic yet dangerous errors in motorsport occurred: an unsafe release. As Antonelli steered left into his designated box, the Red Bull crew waved Verstappen out, directly into Antonelli's path. The resulting contact between Verstappen's front wing and Antonelli's rear wheel was minor in speed, but catastrophic in consequences. Verstappen's wing crumpled. Antonelli, forced to react in milliseconds, aborted his stop entirely and rolled straight down the pit lane, still on worn intermediates. The Mercedes garage was stunned. Red Bull knew immediately that they'd made a critical error. But there was no undoing it now. So who was to blame, and what really went wrong in that split second? According to the FIA stewards, the video and telemetry evidence was clear. Verstappen had done nothing wrong behind the wheel. He followed his crew's signal. It was the pit wall, specifically the Red Bull lollipop man or traffic coordinator, who failed to spot Antonelli approaching in the fast lane. The penalty handed to Verstappen was symbolic of that. A 10-second time penalty, but no license points deducted, signaling that the stewards understood Verstappen himself had no visibility of the oncoming car. The punishment hit hard. Verstappen dropped to P17 and out of the points entirely, marking his first non-scoring F1 race finish since the 2016 Belgian GP. But the bigger story may be the implications for Red Bull as an organization. Christian Horner, known for his often defensive posture when his team is under scrutiny, didn't say much. Just two words: human error. That explanation might satisfy the letter of the law, but it opens the door to a deeper conversation. Because this isn't the first time Red Bull has faltered in pit lane operations this season. Has Red Bull lost its edge? For nearly 5 seasons, Red Bull's pit crew has been the gold standard, regularly clocking sub-2-second stops, often deciding races through flawless execution. Their synchronization was artful. But in 2025, a string of operational mishaps has cast a shadow on that reputation. There was the slow stop for Perez in Jeddah, a mistimed double stack in Melbourne, and now this, a collision that cost Verstappen and the team points, pride, and possibly championship momentum. Some insiders are quietly suggesting the team's core pit operations have been disrupted. Rumors of key personnel leaving for rival outfits like Aston Martin or McLaren are growing. Red Bull Racing, after years of perfection, may be suffering from the very success that elevated them. Poached talent, internal promotions, and perhaps a degree of overconfidence. Even Verstappen, typically cool and assertive in the media, admitted, "It's something we need to investigate. I'm just happy no one got injured." There's a subtext in that statement, a recognition that this wasn't just a blip. It was a potentially dangerous failure. On the flip side of the drama is Kimi Antonelli. The Mercedes rookie handled the incident with the kind of calm rarely seen in first-year drivers. "Nothing to blame on Max," he said post-race. "He just got released. I tried to avoid the crash because it could have been a really bad accident for the mechanics." That quote tells us two things. First, Antonelli has nerves of steel. And second, the pit lane crash wasn't just about strategy or points. It was inches away from becoming a serious safety hazard. Had Antonelli reacted a moment later, had he clipped a crew member, or had Verstappen swerved to avoid and lost control, this story could have had a far darker ending. Mercedes team boss Toto Wolf certainly wasn't in a forgiving mood. "I'm surprised about a total lack of judgment," he said, visibly agitated in his Sky Sports interview. "It wasn't even close. Somebody panicked." That's a significant statement. It implies not just error, but emotional instability, a panic response under pressure from a team known for being calm and methodical. And when Wolf says things like that publicly, it's usually because he sees an opportunity to rattle Red Bull's cage. From a strategic standpoint, the impact of this error could be wide-ranging. Sprint races may only award a fraction of the points available in a Grand Prix, but in a season projected to go down to the wire, even one lost point could decide a title. Antonelli finishing P10 instead of P4 or P5 represents a massive loss for Mercedes, not just in standings, but in narrative. The Italian rookie was on track to secure his best result yet. Had he pitted cleanly for slicks, the Mercedes pace at the end could have even challenged for a podium. Instead, he limped home behind the safety car, having never gotten a chance to show what he had. Verstappen, meanwhile, now faces more than just the penalty points. There's a psychological cost to this kind of incident. Formula One is a game of rhythm, and Verstappen had been riding a wave of consistency. Even in difficult conditions, he was almost always guaranteed to finish in the top 5, if not on the podium. A P17 finish, regardless of fault, breaks that rhythm. It creates doubt, it invites criticism. And in the long memory of F1, it's these moments that can define the swing of a championship narrative. But here's a question no one's asking. Why did Red Bull release Max at all? If they'd waited just 1.5 seconds longer, letting Antonelli pass, the outcome would have been completely different. It raises the possibility that the team, focused intensely on undercutting Mercedes and maintaining track position, took a calculated risk. Did they gamble believing they could squeeze Max out ahead without contact? Or was it, as Horner said, simply an unforced, blind mistake, a lapse of awareness in the worst possible place?